Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jack. This is my first monthly wrap up. I don't know how it's going to go. Who knows, but I managed to read 9 books this month. So let's go. So like I said, I managed to read 9 books this month. And I'm pretty sure because at the beginning of the month, I finished my Korean drama, which was our beloved summer. Oh, well, 1, the main dude in it was Smoking Hot. 2, it really, do you want a review on it? You're getting one. It's a review. You're getting, the first episode was really, I thought, this is going to be a new favourite. And then it did lose me in the middle. It took me quite a while. And then it got me back towards the end. And I did shed a little tear, as we know. As I'm known for. But once I finish that, it takes me a while to pick a new one. And I only picked a new one at the beginning of April. So I have started a new Korean drama. But you're not here for my talks about Korean drama. Unless you are and you love Korean dramas. Let me know which ones I should watch. But let's talk about the books. Speaking of Korea, the first book I read this month was Concerning My Daughter by Kim Hye-Jin, translated from Korean by Jamie Chang. And this one is out on the 14th of April, and it was sent to me by the publishers. And I did really enjoy this, actually. It was a great way to start off the month. I want to read more translated fiction. I've got so much East Asian fiction to read, and I haven't read any apart from Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which everyone's read. But this is about an aging woman in Korea who works and in an old people's home, and she sort of looks after this one patient, and the patient gets moved and she takes her home and the patient dies, but her daughter is also living with her at the minute, and the daughter's girlfriend, and the mum can't quite accept that. So it was sort of, you know, the older generation and the new generation, and it was a really interesting look at the balance between them, and sort of but I just feel it was sort of sold to me as a bit of a queer book, and it was, but I just think it could have done with a perspective from the queer character to make it queer. But I really enjoyed it. It's a short little novel, only just over, not even 200 pages, but yeah, honestly, I really did enjoy this one. It's out the 14th, so if you're looking for more translated fiction. I dropped it. Next up was Bad Gays, A Homosexual History by Hugh Lemmey and Ben Miller. This is from Verso Books, out May 31st. I have spoken about this one before, but just a brilliant non-fiction, really. Too many popular histories seek to establish heroes, pioneers and martyrs. But as Hugh Lemmey and Ben Miller argue, the past is filled with queer people whose sexualities and dastardly deeds have been overlooked. That sums it up. You're looking at people who don't respect their own queerness, or they push it aside to get themselves further in life, or to attack other groups. And it is a really, really interesting read, actually. And it's a beautiful cover. Look at that. It is really beautiful. So I got my own non-fiction in for the month, which I was really pleased about. Next up was Limbic by Peter Scapello from Cypher Press. I spoke at Cypher Press before. Check them out. But I spoke about this before. Just a beautiful collection of poetry. It made me cry. First page. This only book to make me cry this month, I think. Getting better. Yeah, if you love... Well, I think this is a perfect collection to start poetry, because I'm not a poetry reader, but I was really moved by them, actually. I keep saying actually. Have you noticed? Actually. Yeah, it's out now, and the final cover is... Oh, it's beautiful. I need to pick up a final copy. Then I spoke up... Oh, that's my letter from my friend. I spoke at this one before. Stone Butch Blues by... Oh, another letter from my friend. Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Feinberg. I think this is just a brilliant book. It's that book that just has a hold on you. And I couldn't stop thinking about it when I was at work, to be honest. Look how it's formatted. Isn't that so strange? It took me a while to get used to it, but I'm so glad I read this one. My friend gave it to me ages ago, and she never got me to read it. And I'm so, so glad I did. It's really something special, and I feel like this is... Stone Butch Blues has probably touched your life even if you haven't read it. There you go. So read it if you haven't. You already know about it. Next up, shiny proof alert. Next up, we have Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, author of Station 11. I know a lot of people love the book. I hadn't read it. I finished this. I went out and brought it. I thought this was really, really brilliant. I can't believe she managed to pack all it in less than 300 pages and have it work so well. And I'm not going to say anything else about it because I want you to be surprised, but the way it all came together. It was one of those books I was lying down reading like this, and when something happened, I shut up and I was like, and you know that's the sign of a good book, people. Look, 1912, 2 centuries later, and then they're on different planets. That's all I'll say. You're intrigued? I know you are. I can see it. If you loved Station 11, pick this one up. Young Mungo by Douglas Stuart. One of my most anticipated books of the year. And I'm going to say it's probably one of my biggest disappointments of the year so far. I just thought this didn't hit the mark. We've all seen that front cover, or the UK cover, with those two lads kissing, and a vivid portrayal of working class life and deeply moving story of dangerous first love of two young men, Mungo and James. Here's the thing, everything, how do I say this? Everything that happened in the novel sort of came off that relationship. And we were over halfway through and the relationship hadn't even started yet. And when it did start, it didn't do it for me. Oh, I sort of left a bit feeling a bit bewildered, to be honest. I just think, and it just went to places I didn't know if it needed to go. I think the working class life bit of the book was done brilliantly, but it's just the rest. That love, it just never happened. And then, I know there's this whole thing of, queer joy and we don't want to read about queer people being traumatized. And I don't need books to be queer joy, but this was just, you need to check the trigger warnings for this one, because there is a lot of sexual assault in this, and underage sexual assault, which I don't know if it was necessary. I think that whole bit is unnecessary, and I just sort of thought, well, so yeah, as much as I hate to say it, it really was a disappointment for me. Don't hate me, everyone. But many of my friends on Instagram love this. Believe them, not me. They're pretty smart than I am. Next up, we have Bolla by Pajtim Statovic, translated by David Paxton. This author wrote My Cat Yugoslavia, which I think is a really big book. I've heard of it, but I don't know what it's about. But this one, again, was a bit of a disappointment for me. I read this over my 30th birthday because I thought this is going to be one of my best of the year, but it's basically about these two men meet and begin a life, an affair in secret. He's married, the main character is married to a woman who doesn't want to be. And then it happens when war, and he leaves the country. And I just thought, all these things that have happened are based off the relationship, and I didn't believe the relationship. They sort of met 3 hours later, were in bed with each other, and then were madly in love, and I didn't get it. And it's about what happens to you as a person when you can't be your true self and live out your desires, which I think that did it, because at the end this man does something really horrible. I was like, this is my face reading these two books. But he did something horrible, so that bit was, I thought, well, yeah, I guess, but the relationship just didn't work. And again, this also featured underage sexual assault. We don't need that in our queer books. It winds me up, more Janikian. But yeah, it was just, the relationship needs to be more and better for everything else to work, for me personally. But I will say I do still think about this book a lot. So maybe it's one like that I can't necessarily say I like, but it's one that got inside and stays with you. Maybe it's one of them. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe at the end of the year, if it's still around, I'll change my mind. And then next up, because I needed something not queer, something different, I read The Return of Pharaohs Alley by Aamina Ahmad. This is out the 5th of April. I forgot to say, this is out 7th of April, maybe. And this is out the 5th. Yeah, tomorrow. And I actually really enjoyed this. I didn't think I was going to. It was sent to me by the publishers. As riots erupt on the street of Lahore, Inspector Pharaohs Alley returns to his birthplace, the red light district in the walled inner city where women still pass on the professions of courtesan to their daughters. Actually, I loved all that, and there was a different perspective from his sister, and she was sort of a fading actress going back to that life, and it was all brilliant. I loved all that. I loved all the characters and the people. The only thing that I didn't like, and this is just like a personal thing, it was he was sort of trying to sort of solve a crime as to what happened to one of the young courtesans, and that just doesn't do it for me. I'm not like a crime. I can't watch those, people are obsessed with those true crime documentary series. I can't watch that. I find them unbelievably scary. I can't sleep at night. I don't know why I just told you all that, but yeah, everything else about this book I really, really enjoyed, but I just didn't like the crime aspect. But I liked the characters. I liked all the rest of the story. So yeah, I would definitely check this one out. I'll get it out tomorrow. And last this month was The Fake Up by Justin Myers. Now, I was offered this. It's out, I think the 7th of April. It was, and Justin Myers' 2 previous books, The Last Romeo and The Magnificent Son. The Last Romeo was okay. The Magnificent Sons, hated. But they've both been queer, and I got offered this, and I thought it was queer, and it's not. It's not. And I put it on Instagram, people were like, it is. And I'm like, no, it's not. I've literally just finished it. But what I will say is I really enjoyed it. It's probably my favourite of his 2 books. It's about Dylan and Flo, who they break up. And when they break up, things start going well for them. Like, she becomes a really successful singer, and he becomes an actor, like a British actor, like in a soap opera, which I really loved all that British sort of, on the cover of the magazines. I really liked all that. But, yeah, just enjoyable. It was just enjoyable. It was a fun read. And when they do get successful, all their friends are like, oh, I'm so glad you're not with them anymore. And they get back together. And it does have queer side characters, so I will say that. But it was just fun. This was sort of the only fun book I read this month. It was just light-hearted and a perfect rom-com, I think it says somewhere on the back. So yeah, if you're looking for a bit of fun, light-hearted read, I sort of read it in one night, and I never do that. So yeah, definitely check this one out. So that's it. That's my monthly wrap-up. 9 books. Although I didn't like them all, I still had a really good reading month. And now I've started a new career drama, so who knows how much I'm going to read this month, but we'll wait and see. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or my blog, I'm going to link it all down below. Subscribe if you like. Thumbs up if you like. And I'll see you all soon.